me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
Welcome to Tiny's under 10-minute tasting of Jefferson's Oceans tonight. Excited about this. Later this week, tonight is an actual Tuesday night. It's March 1st when we're recording this. And this Thursday, the 3rd, we are going to have Jade Peterson, the master distiller for the Kentucky Atrtesian Distillery, where Jefferson's reserve and the Jefferson's that's used to put on the boats is going to be joining us, and I'm excited about that. But for right now, we are tasting what we'll probably be tasting on that podcast and drinking along with Jade. But the Oceans, this is Jefferson Oceans Voyage number 25, the weeded mash bill. This Voyage, I've got a little bit right here. Let me check this out. I'll give it a little bit. It's a fairly little reading, but there was very little activity on the Atlantic at the time of Oceans Voyage 25. Departure from Savannah, but it was far from quiet. Groundswells are ever present in the restless sea, and while it may have the appearance of being calm and smooth, it is constantly working the bourbon in the barrels, giving it greater contact with the wood than sitting still in a landlocked warehouse. The gentle action continued down to and through the Panama Canal and out into the South Pacific on the way to the equator and Tahiti. While there were no significant storms to contend with, there was an increase in volcanic activity in the Hawaiian Islands and the Philippines due to the ash that was launched into the upper atmosphere. Voyage 25 was treated to one of the spectacular sunrises and sunsets one after another. Slight seas carried us to Auckland, New Zealand, and from there to Newport of Call on the voyage to Naumea. There we go. Naumea. New Caledonia. The crossing to Brisbane, Australia, was virtually the only rough water Oceans 25 encountered on the entire journey. Through the South Australian basin to Fremantle and up to the Philippines basin, the calm water mirrored the reds and purples that streaked the evening skies. While the sunsets were not as spectacular as they were in the Pacific, they remained a pleasant sight back in the Atlantic. These remained calm as the ship made the stops in Europe, back across the North Atlantic and south along the eastern coast of America. There was a peace and quiet about Voyage 25, a beauty that was imported to the bourbon and carried and lingered until we reached our final destination in Savannah. So that was like a really calm journey. So that just gives you a little bit. So they take the Jeffersons. So let me just here we go. Founded in 1997, Jefferson's is the brainchild of Trey Zeller and his father, Chet. a famed bourbon historian. They were continuing a family whiskey tradition that goes back to Trey's 8th generation grandmother, who was arrested in 1799 for the production and sales of spirituous liquors. His curious and experimental mindset has allowed him to push the boundaries of bourbon whiskey, upholding tradition, yet always discovering new possibilities. This is, like I said, this is now being distilled at the Kentucky Atrtesian Distillery. Jade Peterson will be there with us soon. Let's get on to the tasting.
Spirits of French Lick is proud to introduce the Maddie Gladden Bottled and Bond Bourbon. This 4-year aged bourbon is double pot distilled and non-chill filtered and has a full-bodied mouthfeel with eucalyptus, molasses, clove, ginger, and slight citrus as well as grains of paradise. The finish is long and reappearing on the back of the tongue with notes of pepper, tobacco leaf, and mint cream. All of our spirits are available for tasting and purchase inside the French Lick Winery and Distillery. Spirits of French Lick, respect the grain, please enjoy responsibly, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Dant Crossing, Gethsemane, Kentucky. Timeless hospitality that stirs the spirit. Dant Crossing is a one-of-a-kind destination for unforgettable weddings, memorable corporate events, day trips, and weekend getaways. The pastoral campus is anchored by Log Still Distillery and includes an amphitheater that seats 2,000, a 12-acre lake for fishing and unique lodging options, creating an immersive experience that's rooted in the community and culture of our little slice of Kentucky. More attractions will open soon at Dant Crossing, including our 21,000 square foot distillery, which we will have the ability to produce 15,000 barrels of spirit each year, a network of wooded walking trails, fully functional private train depot, farm-to-table restaurant, and the Legacy, a premier wedding and events venue. Whether you're looking to host an event, book a stay, or reserve a tasting, we're ready to welcome you. Learn more at dantcrossing.com.
This is definitely caramel, a little bit light in the bottle, and I'm excited. I've done my classic neck pour where I open this for about 10 minutes, let it sit in the bottle, let it air out, then put the cap back on, shake it up, and eliminating the neck pour for this brand new open Voyage 25. This is a wheated mash bill. So let's get on. My rating system is 25 for nose, 25 for taste, 25 for body, and 25 for finish, for a total of a possibility of 100. There's a little bit of, it's like, there's a little bit of, I'm getting for a wheated, I'm getting a little bit of a caramely. There's some florals. I want to say mint. A little bit of wheatgrass. Maybe that mint is spearmint. Definitely like a weedy, grassy nose, like the grain. Here we go. Once again, tasting in a Glencairn. This Glencairn, our Scotchy Bourbon Boys Glencairn. Check us out on our website, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. You can pick one of these up or contact me directly on Facebook, and I'll. But one of the nice things about the Glencairn is it allows you to hold it and look at this caramel. This is just caramel as far as color. You hold it up to the light, you can just see it. You could grab it by the base. It doesn't warm, you're not warming up your whiskey. You can set it on the counter and you can roll this glass all you want, coating the side, pick it up, take a look, hold it up to the line. Now what's left is it's just sticking to the glass, but there they come. There comes the legs. Now these legs are average. This isn't, there goes some of the whiskey, which irritates me, but at the same time, average legs, but it does have a nice viscosity to the bourbon. I'm hoping that the mouthfeel on this is pretty good. The proof is 90. The price is $69.99, and no age there's no age denomination. All right, so I smell that. Let's go. Let's give this a taste. A lot of vanilla, a lot of caramel. Ooh. Vanilla pudding. I haven't had vanilla pudding in a while. And a vanilla, a vanilla wafer, like that's pretty good. Shit ton of caramel on the front. Wow, I'm really liking that. Wow. That's a nice whiskey. Good creamy mouthfeel. Not the hugest body, but for a 90 proof, oh, that's delicious. Excited about that one. Glad I picked up that bottle. I might have to go try and get another one. All right, so let's do the nose. The nose definitely tells you this is a grain forward whiskey. Some people, I like it when I'm smelling the grains that were used to make it. It's got almost a yeasty bread smell. It's got some lemongrass, wheatgrass, a little bit of oak. That's a complex. No, I'm going to give this nose a 23. All right, let's do this now as far as taste. The caramel and the lemon, there's a lemony taste right there. But then when it gets that mid palate, it's just creamy. And right when it hits the back palate, it's just vanilla pudding. Very delicious. I give this a 24 on the palate. It's delicious. That's what I want in a bourbon. It really is. I didn't know what to expect with this. I'm glad that I'm opening it and tasting it tonight, because I'm going to be excited to podcast with Jade Peterson, our Kentucky Atrtesian Distillery's master distiller. Now, as far as body goes, it's got great mouthfeel. Does a nice thing in the glass. So but it's not an explosion like that big 115 proof that I had. There's not a lot of cheap stuff going on. It's just minimal, very drinkable. But as far as the body, I'm going to give it a 21 as the body, because it's still a really good body as far as the mouthfeel of the creaminess, and that's part of the body. It just doesn't have that flavor explosion all throughout your mouth. But when you're dealing, that's not something you absolutely need here. Now the finish is vanilla. There's not a lot of oak, just vanilla. And it's still there. Like I'm going to give this finish a 22. So that means I gave this a 90 out of 100. I am a fan of the oceans lately. This Voyage, it's a wheated. It drinks like a wheated. This is very, very good. I will be coveting this bottle. I would definitely recommend going out and getting the Voyage 25 wheated mash bill. It's delicious. Whatever they did, those seas that were not, and all the sunsets and all the stuff that was added into there, that is definitely a fantastic bourbon and highly recommended. So that brings us to the end of this Tiny's under 10-minute tasting. Remember, we are the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I'm Tiny. We podcast often. Check out our podcast, the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're on all Things podcast. Doesn't matter. We're on them. Check that out. And then also we do check out www.scotchybourbonboys.com. You can find out about our whiskey lives. Every second and fourth Friday, we do a whiskey live tasting with a bunch of Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We pick one bourbon. We all get together and rate it. I'm rating these separately. It gets together 4 or 5 people on the podcast or the live tasting. We do it live Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern time, every second and fourth Friday of the month. So join us for that. And then also remember, we are on YouTube. Please, no matter where you go, like us, subscribe, and leave good feedback. It helps the podcast. It helps us keep going. We appreciate all the support we get. And we're also on Facebook. Check out our Facebook group. We have meetings. The next meeting is April 22nd at the Barrel Room. Ohio Liquor will be there to answer your questions. So good night. Talk to you soon. Remember, it's good bourbon equals good times, good friends, and go out and live dangerously, everybody. Thanks for listening to Tiny's Under 10-Minute Tasting.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
The Watershed Story. A watershed moment might be pivotal, but it might also be quiet and fleeting. It could be a monumentous occasion, a cause for celebration, an enormous triumph, or a small daily victory. A watershed moment could be a rekindling or an observation or a gathering. Any opportunity to relish with friends and family. It's whatever you choose to cheers to, who you're gathered around, and whatever's worth celebrating. We founded Watershed Distillery on the principles of community in 2010. We wanted to live in, work in, and contribute to the community in which we grew up. We aimed to create spirits and stood apart in quality and character. Along the way, we set out to form a community of our own, one that could gather together to savor, celebrate, and enjoy good spirits and company. We've grown from a tiny little still and 2 guys in jumpsuits to a dedicated team of over 40 people and 2 much larger stills. If you're ever in the area, stop by so we can introduce you to our team and pour you some of our award-winning bourbon. Creating it was our watershed moment, but we want to hear about yours.